Hark the bardic paladin, who sings and plays again. He tells the tales of glory, and weaves a magic story. He'll join you at your table, and ask you to share a fable. Heroes of humble origin, villains who must be fought again. No matter their skill or prowess, the people in life are countless. So we pray you heed our request. Enjoy this tale of sidekicks and side quests.
Hello, and welcome to our fourth panel-style episode of our series of discussions that we call Parleys at the Platter. The goal is to invite guests of the podcast who share a similar field of expertise or passion, to invite them to come together, have a lovely hour or so on the topic. Our topic for this panel is entitled Art, Creativity, and D&D, and seeks to find the intersection of these three ideas. Human creativity and expression is as old as time, and certainly, when we use our imaginations and our love of fantasy, we can all call to mind stunning, brilliant, and wondrous artistic expressions of our favorite fantasy elements. From fan art of our favorite stories, stylistic challenges and renderings through different themes and mediums, to just seeing what elements of a piece reflect the truth of the subject and of its creator. Since the earliest days of the TTRPG hobby, art and imagination have helped us to visualize in both gridded maps, miniatures, and theater of the mind in what monstrous creatures lurked in dungeons, what NPCs awaited us in town, and how we visualize our heroes. And now, with the internet connecting more people and digital tools enhancing our abilities to capture what lies inside our minds, we have to consider where the boundaries lie. Can you close the lid on the Pandora's box? All these questions and more we shall be discussing today with our panelists. So I'm joined by wonderful guests of our podcast. Those of you at the wealthy and aristocratic tiers of patronage of ye olde Patreon are hearing this as an early release on Patreon. And so if you are listening to this on the RSS feed, it's Christmas time. So Merry Christmas. Here's your Christmas present for this year from good old Sidekicks and Side Quests. So if you want to be able to listen to this early instead of waiting for the RSS feed, you could just join the Patreon. That'd be really cool to help support the podcast and to continue to help foster these much needed conversations in our hobby, in our space. So for the introductions, I know you're waiting. We've got a killer lineup for you today. So to begin my introductions of our panel, my first guest is an Emmy Award-winning illustrator and character designer, as well as the creator of Wobble, a cute little slime just trying his best. They've illustrated 2 puzzles for Critical Role and served as lead character illustrator on Tal'Dorei Reborn, published by Darrington Press. She's also worked with Wizards of the Coast, Disney Lorcana, Hit Point Press, BioWare, Dynamite Entertainment, and IDW Publishing. She lives in Philadelphia with her cat Kiri. You'll recognize this panelist as the maker behind Krongar, the Red Mare, the Red Slod, just chilling in the Astral Sea, featured in episode number 91. Please welcome Lauren Walsh.
Hello.
All right. And our second guest is an artist who has worked as an illustrator for commercial products, television, animation, and games. After hours, she moonlights as her mall mannequin VTuber persona, where she uses streaming as a way to share her art process, provide art education, and bring her community together by fostering creativity. She spends her free time playing D&D and other TTRPGs. You may also recognize this panelist as the inspiration behind the adorable little Pyrex the Herringon chicken egg collector on episode number 123. Please welcome Mandi Quin. Our third panelist is a designer and illustrator with over 9 years of experience in character and prop design, illustration, TTRPGs, social media, apps, and board games. She's worked with Marvel Animation Studios, TikTok, and Dice Throne. You've probably seen her awesome character designs and fan art for Critical Role, Dimension 20, and Worlds Beyond Number. You will recognize this guest as the creator of Thorsten, the teen troglodyte vermin rancher of the Underdark, with guinea pigs. Featured in episode number 148, please welcome Britt Anderson. Our fourth panelist is a frequent collaborator with me, and she's entirely too humble sometimes, in my personal opinion. She's an accomplished graphic designer and lover of all things nerdy, including Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Lord of the Rings, Critical Role, and of course, Dungeons and Dragons. She's back in the swing of a weekly in-person game, and she's been in a solo campaign with me, and she's the player character and I'm the dungeon master, and that game is like getting close to 2. She has her own little JRPG, TTRPG story that she's doing. She finally has her own growing art presence back online under Sombrisa Art, which you should all go follow on the Instagrams and Kara and Threads and Blue Sky, all the good places, and be awesome cheerleaders for her to continue to produce art. She's a wife, and she's a mom to 2 awesome kids. You'll recognize this panelist as the creator behind Thistle, the Sky Elf painter featured on episode number 70, as well as episode number 119 for our second ever Parleys at the Platter when we discuss Tolkien, Catholicism, and D&D. Please welcome back to the podcast, Katherine.
Hello, glad to be here.
All right. And our fifth and final panelist, at the time of this recording, he's just been on the RSS feed, but he's a delightful new discovery for me via Instagram. He's adamant that cartoonists are born in middle school math classes. And so he's doing that every day when he rolls random dice and he doodles a unique and fun TTRPG character through his aptly named DnDoodles. He hopes to be able to expand DnDoodles to create tangible, fun memories of your tabletop campaigns. We're simply looking for a custom portrait of your original character or an entire series of handcrafted comic books of epic journeys. You'll recognize this doodler as the one who helped to create Evelina, the Turtle Blacksmith, just recently here on the time of recording, episode 153. Please say hello to Henry Hank McCarthy, DnDoodles.
Howdy doody.
All right, so we got everyone. All of us are here. The panelists are here. How are we feeling, everybody? Artists?
Feeling pretty good.
Good.
I'm feeling very competent when it comes to technology and software.
Oh, same.
I am also feeling very competent where it's if it's not working, let's just refresh the page so I can join again.
Turn it on and turn it back off.
Classic IT strategy for sure.
It works every time.
Honestly, kind of excited to start talking about creativity and all that jazz and TTRPGs.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll ease into this. As I've explained to the panelists, I try to keep this loosey-goosey. I've prepared a list of questions, but if everyone wants to deviate, just like good player characters in an adventure, you're the dungeon master, you've prepared something, and they just go on a wild tangent, and you're like, all right, well, I guess this is the story now. So if they want to do that, we can do that. But I prepared some questions, and so to kind of help ease us in and get the creativity flowing, as it were, not to be pretentious, but panelists, what is art?
What a question.
Easy question, right? Right out the gate.
I have an answer that is not mine, but hopefully some of y'all are familiar with his work. If you've read Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, he defines art as anything that a human does that does not directly contribute to either survival or procreation, which is to say survival. So his example of the earliest form of art is, let's say there's a caveman and he's got his cave woman at home, they're making cave babies. All that is settled, ready to go. He's got food, he just killed a deer, they're set for survival, for food, for shelter, for water, all that stuff. So what he's doing is he's hanging out, and then suddenly he's attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. And he just happens to be standing on the ledge of a cliff, and he ducks right as the saber-toothed tiger lunges towards him, and the saber-tooth falls to its eventual demise. And the caveman is left with a decision, which is, should I go find more food? Should I go find a mate? Should I go find shelter? But instead, what this caveman does is he looks down at the bottom of the ravine, and he puts his hands up to his head, and he goes, and that is art.
That's a beautiful answer. I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, I don't know if I can
love that.
top that.
I guess you could say too that in the spirit of the caveman, it's also an expression of the world around you and like processing what's around you in a way. Like, you know, if he's taunting the now dead Saber, in a way he's kind of you know, experience, like processing the world and like putting out his own kind of emotions about the situation. So like I feel like art is also, again, that interaction with the world and human experience, and like a form of processing it as well, or like passing on information, or like very often you see that like with all pretty much any art that you see in any museum at this point, like, or even actually like when I was in college, I studied abroad in Egypt for a brief period of time, and the professor that was on our thing, like, he could read hieroglyphs. Like, he was like that kind of guy where he was just like, oh, come over here and see this corner where this cool little thing is. And like, he would take us away from like the tours and stuff and go and show us stuff. And like, you see these like little marks from like priests back then who are like marking like, oh, the Nile was this high, or like little pictures of like other little things. And you're like, they're almost, again, like processing what's around them and like showing what, not necessarily like leaving a mark, but again, like they're processing what's around them, and like in time we start to see that as art in a way, which I think also gets reflective even in like kind of the games that we play in TTRPGs as well. We're kind of processing our own emotions and our own experiences through the eyes of a character kind of thing. So
I could add it's also a healthy dose of a person having curiosity and a want to discover more about something, and not always just because of science. Like one of the things I think back to is when people were exploring and they would bust out a sketchbook and start drawing things, and it's observational, but there is a certain despite the fact that they're drawing for scientific reasons, there's always these little flourishes and additional little fun little bits, I don't know how to describe it other than that kind of get added into it. Or if you want to jump into a movie that you see it actively happening, when Hiccup is first interacting with Toothless, and you get the montage of him kind of not really understanding Night Furies, and then over the course of the film, he observes, he sketches it down, he learns more about it. There's this beautiful arc to discovery of you don't know about a thing, but you want to learn more about a thing. And to me, creatives who are artists do it by drawing a thing that they don't really understand, but the more they draw it and the more they research, they find the beautiful things inside of it and then share the beautiful things that they discovered with other people. And I think that's really inspirational to me. That really gets me going.
Hell yeah.
That's
That was
awesome.
beautiful.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I would counterpoint to Hank, what you said, that quote from Scott McCloud about stuff that like doesn't serve any utility or any purpose. I think largely that's true. However, I think as time has gone on, I think people have found ways to incorporate art into functional things, like finding ways to imbue it into, like, inserting art, making mundane things into art. An example I have, where I live, there's a lot of old homes, and a lot of them are thankfully like restored and kind of kept the character. And something that I found fascinating when I first moved here was there are a lot of homes where the inside of door hinges have these beautiful, ornate, intricate metalwork filigree. Like, you would only see it like when a door is open, but it didn't have to be like that. But someone took the time to, and it's just this like these beautiful little details of, yeah. So I don't know. And if I had to come up with some esoteric, It's like a lot of what everyone said. But yeah, I think it has a lot to do with like human expression that is captured in some kind of observable, visual, tangible, hearable medium that in some way, at some magnitude, moves our senses, and even goes so far as like, the soul or the spirit. It's just something that just moves you a bit, changes you, makes you curious, like Britt said.
Mm-hmm.
Or makes you uncomfortable,
or exactly,
scared,
it just
anything.
It
Yeah,
moves
for sure.
you a little bit. It doesn't have to be good. It could be, like you said, discomfort, joy, sorrow, anger. Like it's yeah. There you go.
Yeah. It's to me, it's as much of portraying the world around you as it is portraying the world inside of you.
Yes.
In a way that others can understand. So,
Heard.
and most of the time you don't understand it yourself. So one of the examples that I gave, because I do a lot of art critiques to my streaming community, and so sometimes I can really see when somebody's focused on like the eyes of a character or their hands, and they have very specific ways of forming a shape or coloring something. And a lot of that information is also coming from what you're seeing of yourself, whether or not you realize it. Like the way that I draw hands is a reflection of kind of what my hands are shaped like, what they look like. And that's my mind interpreting that part of my body that I'm looking at almost all the time every day. And so did I go to school and study how to draw hands from life and study all sorts of hands? Absolutely, I did. But in the end, the hands always end up looking like my own. So different people have ways of bringing part of themselves, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical. And for someone like myself, I have very intentionally curated and designed a character to represent my personality. There's a lot of color, there's a lot of shape and movement and hairstyle, and I can like curate that more specifically because it's a digital avatar. But it's just some way which you're conveying your sense of self, and that's sometimes formed by the world around you. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that ties into the sort of ubiquity of art, and how it's like, fashion is art, hairstyling is art, makeup is art. Art doesn't have to be something that has a purpose or has function, like we were saying before. I mean, obviously it can, and I think that just because the outcome of something is hard to quantify doesn't mean that it's not important. I mean, we are seeing the effects of things like poor mental health and how it affects all these different things, and it's like, how do you quantify things like that? How do you quantify how effective art is, or how, I mean, I guess things like user experience and user design, there are people that are, UX is kind of art plus science. It's like, hey, why is the McDonald's red and yellow? Oh, it's because when people see yellow and red, they tend to get hungry, or it catches your eye. It's like, you're much likelier to pull over a bright yellow car than you are a bright black car. So
bright black
car, yeah, shiny.
Yeah.
Well, yellow and red, that's like a French fry and ketchup.
Yeah. Oh, that too, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember,
love the food.
I mean, I tend to take anything like this with a grain of salt when someone is like, oh, this color elicits this reaction from people, and this thing, it produces a desired effect. It's like, okay, well, maybe if the sample size is large enough, but you can't really. I don't think it's as simple as like yellow equals hungry.
Well, I mean, there is like actually some data to show like things like green, like having a lot of green around you actually does improve your mood.
I believe that.
Like, but I think it's not necessarily that like color exists, therefore emotion exists. It's like, it's more so like if you see blood, if you see red, you're like, it could be energy, it could be a hunger thing, but it could also be tied to blood, it could be tied to anger, it could be tied to other things. Like but that's again, it's like a human experience being expressed through color, or rather a human experience being expressed through color, like a color that exists in a moment. Whereas like having a lot of green around you, or a lot of plants around you with that green also kind of makes you feel like you're in nature or makes you feel like you're in those spaces. But what I find interesting too is just like how humans need art almost. Like in the sense of like for example, oh my gosh, Katherine, I think, with you have like that really like pretty like shawl on, right, with like all like the different filigree and like like it's very pretty and like but like at the same time, like that's also art, but it's also clothing, and it's also protection, and it's all these different things, but at the same time expressive. And like humans have found that way to, you can't separate art from humanity, especially nowadays. I think especially
Agreed.
with the current conversations around AI, like it is integral to the human experience. Like we literally just put our hands on walls and just blew paint on it, and we went, there we go, I'm expressing myself. Like it is such a core element to us. And like, and I've seen some hot takes online where I've seen I won't name names, but I've seen some comments from people where they're like, well, art doesn't add any value to this video game, or doesn't add such and such to whatever. And it's like, brother, are you aware of
Are you aware of the whole game itself?
Is art.
It's playable, interactive art.
Have fun reading code, brother.
Words.
10111010. So like, you know what I mean? But
NetHack exists, and all that is just digital characters, like keys on a screen, and then it all makes the map or in the characters and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's,
but even that's art, you know, like with like the little key.
True.
You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't exist without the visual, and art itself is magic in a way. Like you're taking. It is sorcery. The fact that anyone, because I have moments, I don't know about anybody else in here, but like I have moments where I'm like, I did that.
Yeah.
That came out of
100%.
Like, where I'm like,
it's always such a big shock when it happens.
Every time.
Because a lot of times I found like during the process of working on something, to me, when I get those moments, it's usually right after I've solved a problem.
Yes.
And it's not always a big problem. Sometimes it's like, I just can't get this color palette to work. Sometimes it's like, that finger looks weird. Or it's sometimes it's scrapping a whole section of it and starting from scratch. But like, then I like, when I'm finally done and I like step away from it and I look at it the next day, that's the biggest thing. When I look at it after a sleep and I look at a piece and I'm like, whoa, I really locked in there. And then you just kind of,
How did
I was
do
cooking.
that?
when did this happen?
You're in the zone.
What?
when you like level up, like when you have that moment of, because there's something
clicks.
too where your taste, and I would say that this is also a tip for younger artists too that are just starting out, or artists in general that are starting out, is that very often your taste develops faster than your skill.
Yeah.
And there comes a certain magical moment when your taste and your skill meet, and then you're like, whoa, I'm doing the thing that I want to do. And like, and there's also so much like frustration you have to overcome. Like every art piece, and not just art, I think writing, cooking, anything, is you have a moment where you finally, again, like you're saying, like you solved that problem, but you also have to have the mental fortitude to stay in the problem long enough to solve it. And it becomes a constant mental battle as well. Like, you know, someone might walk by me at Starbucks or something, like drawing, and then they're like, wow, she looks like she's having a great time. And meanwhile, I'm like, listen here, you son of a bitch, I'm gonna get this nose. You're not going away from me, brother. Like, you know?
Yeah. Oh man, I feel that a little too much.
Yeah. I'm gonna make you in perspective, brother.
Have you been in my computer in like the past
I'm in your walls actually. Like it's a subscription that I have.
I'm in the middle of doing exactly that right now with skills that I haven't used in like over 20 years to work on a commission, and now I'm like, I can feel myself starting to lock in, but I'm like almost hate sketching it because I'm like,
And they say that you'll never work a day. You'll never work a day with doing something you love. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it takes work.
Meanwhile,
It takes a lot of work.
It does.
Yeah.
I guess
I'm having a blast just sitting back and I work differently with like, you know, my spider web way of thinking of like where something someone says reminds me of like a quote or something, you know, going back maybe before we started rolling, but Britt talked about like, oh, my friends and I, we speak in like, you know, we're cinephiles, so we speak in like movie references and such, and remembering our episode, Britt, and how we talked about Iron Giant, I had to look it up because I was like, what's the character's name? Because I'm just thinking of the junkyard scene with Dean McCoppin yelling at the Iron Giant, being like, "This is art!" And he fixes it and puts it down, and then he's like, "Oh, so maybe the one case in which artificial intelligence maybe did do something good for art."
Yeah,
I
but
think
he was
kids love
Superman,
that
though.
one of the most special things about art is that its purpose is for us to assign purpose to it. So the
I like
artist, the artist is
I'm
solving
gonna write that down.
problems. Okay, you can have it first. The artist, you know, when I'm talking to people about art, because most of my content I just draw, so I'm drawing for people in front of people, and I'm talking about what I'm doing because a lot of people are just interested in art or they're artists themselves. And so while I'm drawing, I will explain that I'm answering questions. So sometimes you're consciously thinking of that question and you're really digging into it. And other times it's just sort of like, what color do I want to use here? And you try a couple colors, you're like, cool, that color works. And it's a series of asking yourself, how am I going to do this thing? Whether it's a conscious question to yourself or not. And for a beginner, those questions are way bigger, have way more complicated answers, and are a lot more intimidating. For somebody who's very experienced, those questions are a bit more mundane, and we really have to, it really takes a lot for a question to stump us. But overall, you know, to the person receiving the art, they assign their own purpose to it. So I could have drawn whatever I wanted, however I wanted it to be, and that's what I assigned my own purpose into. And someone else will take that and they'll say their own purpose. So to someone, you know, a supporter of the narrative that art doesn't add value to video games, whoever said that clearly doesn't know how the spaghetti's made. But, you know, to somebody else sitting beside them, that game's purpose is huge. Someone else might look at that and say, you know what, this game's not for me. It doesn't really hold a lot of weight in my heart, doesn't hold a lot of purpose in my mind, but I still acknowledge that it exists. But to the developers, its purpose might have been monetary. It might have been a passion project. So I think that's one of the biggest things about art, is that its purpose is truly to be given purpose by the people who receive it, whether that's information being transferred, whether it's just a pretty picture of your favorite Full Metal Alchemist character. Yeah. So I do really love sharing my purpose and seeing what purposes people give to it, because when they share that purpose with you, then you're like, oh, somebody just gave me something new about the art that I didn't give it. And that's kind of magic. That's magic in and of itself.
Hell yeah. Yeah, there was somebody that, I forget who it was. I want to say it was Dave Grohl. I could be mistaken. But there's someone that said one of their favorite things about performing music in front of people is that, you know, you wrote the song for one reason, and you're singing it in front of 2,000 people, and they're all singing the exact same words for 2,000 different reasons.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, this is just fascinating. I just want to sit back and let everyone talk and only jump in when it's necessary. And I'm just trying to look at all the questions, and I'm just looking at all the different artists that we have represented. So maybe kind of like a part B to the question as far as like, you know, but what is art? Maybe making it more specific to each panelist. Like, what would you say is like your art, or like your art style? So like when you say, like when you're out there creating and you're putting it out there for people to share, I mean, obviously people can go online and kind of look at it on social media and such, your portfolios. But just maybe like kind of briefly, just to like give people context, so when they're listening to the audio of this, they can be like, oh, okay, so, you know, this person does art this way and this style, and this person does their art this way, so they can kind of like visualize it for themselves.
Nose goes? Who wants to go first?
I can go. For me, my style is very much like stylized realism. Not necessarily hyper realistic, but a little bit of like a Riot kind of blizzardy kind of vibe of like cartoonish, but still based a little bit in reality. And yeah, which both of those studios have heavily inspired my work over my entire lifetime, to be honest. But I would say that, and then I also have been kind of exploring a little bit of like a more graphic kind of I don't even know how to phrase it. It's if people have seen my work online or like on socials, like I've been doing some like fan art of Baldur's Gate 3, and I did a Gale piece as of recent. That
Love
like
that
I love that
piece.
piece.
thank you
Oh, so much.
and
It gives me so many
Thank
emotions
you.
every time I look at it. It makes me.
Oh,
makes my
thank
Why
heart
don't you
oh.
go
happy.
look at it?
Stop.
No, listen, we are all artists. We're all going to be gassing each other up. During
Yeah,
this.
yeah, and each one of us is gonna reject it. Okay, that sounds good. No, but with things, but with that Gale piece specifically, I was kind of exploring. It was not a style I normally do. If you've seen my work, it's very much not me. It is me. It's very much not what I normally do. And with that piece, I was actually exploring Gale as a wizard being able to like manipulate reality and creation and the weave and like, you know, the threads of the goddess herself kind of thing. And like, and it was like so much fun to kind of like try and like deconstruct reality for a little bit and do a style that was completely separate of my own. And like, it's kind of opened up this whole new like graphic style, like you know, like by consuming work that I don't normally consume, it influences a new type of style that then is created, and people love it. And it's experimentation is huge. But to re-anchor it back, stylized realism is what I would say like I'm most known for as a style specifically. Thematically, I would say pretty queer, muscle ladies, and a lot of fantasy, and yeah.
I love that.
Thank you. Oh, and my son. I forgot my own son. Oh my god. And Booble, my boy, my precious boy. Anyway. The muscle lady to little boy type. Okay, wait, no, let me rephrase that. Hold on. Let me rephrase that. No, hold on. Wait. The muscle lady to little guy pipeline.
Oh, yes.
Is...
You just have two. You have a slider with two extremes.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyway, that's it.
Good.
For me, I started VTubing 2 years ago. I was working on an animated television show from home for 4 years, and I worked on the show Archer, and so a lot of
Phrasing.
so I worked on 4 seasons, and a lot of the work already, if you've ever worked in television animation, is you conforming to an existing style, to an existing set of rules, especially for a show that's so established. I was really just conforming to a very technical pipeline. We created the character bodies in Adobe Illustrator, which is not typically a animation pipeline program. However, they animated it all in After Effects, so that thing was built on popsicle sticks in a dream. And by the end of my tenure there, my job had morphed into one of guidance and note making rather than actually making assets very often. So I was incredibly lonely and not stimulated creatively. So I'd seen that there's this community online of people that made digital avatars, and they would stream to other people out there in the world, and they would share their art, and making the avatar itself was part of the expression. I could be my own art director, I could make my own world, and what better way to put everything into it than to make a character that exemplified everything that made me smile and everything I wanted to be as like a kid. So I'm a mall mannequin from like a Claire's, basically.
Oh, cute.
How
Oh,
cool would it
yeah.
have been to get all
Adorable.
the hair clips and the bows and the barrettes and things? And part of me wishes I was a mannequin at Hot Topic, but there's neither here nor there. And so you guys probably would have seen my art from my human portfolio, but in the past few years I've actually been creating so much art just for my community. And so that optimism and that brightness, very Lisa Frank, very
Yes.
heavy. I'm very
Yes.
heavy-handed. Sometimes I call it ham-fisted, where my line art's really thick and I go way too saturated sometimes, way too much contrast, but then I have to like dial it back. And I think that's really exemplary of my personality. I go way too hard and I readjust, and I eat up the feedback of somebody saying, hey, that's cool, but you also talked my ear off for 45 straight minutes about Naruto, and that's awesome energy you brought to the function, but I didn't need 45 minutes of Naruto. I'm like, no, you're right. You're right. That's true. So...
And I have to compliment the original art that got me to follow you on the old days of Twitter, which is you did some D&D versions of Dolly Parton
I did.
as like different
Yes.
characters.
I really love Dolly Parton. I think...
Well, who doesn't? She's America's sweetheart.
She's an icon.
Yeah. My art style is, I'd say, illustrative, which is not very specific. Illustrations, pretty much anything. But there's a lot of Lisa Frank, a lot of 2000s cartoons and media, a lot of toy branding and stuff like that as well. Just because that's when my brain was absolutely soaking it up. So I tend to use a lot of color. I tend to use a lot of lines, and even though it cramps my hand up, I do love me some line art. Not everybody likes it, but I love it. And so yeah, my current work is in games. I mostly do stylized realism for games, very polished, clean, crisp, a lot of items and UI elements, a lot of gold, tons of metal in general, and that's really like just pushed me to draw more material and try to get a different sense of material in my artwork. And that's what the Alphonse piece on the gallery I sent, that Alphonse piece was like me being like, I want to draw metal really bad. so yeah, that's me.
I could go next. I think kind of similar to what Lauren said, I lean hard into something that I call magical realism, which is fairly kind of similar to some of the work that Lauren, that you do. But when I was growing up, I grew up an only child in a town of less than 500 people with no other kids that lived on my street. And my family was very poor and could not afford to send me to any of the extracurriculars that any of the other kids went to. But a ream of paper and colored pencils were cheap from the Dollar Tree. So, and we had a VCR and VHS movies were a relatively cheap thing to entertain me. So I think I watched all of the Disney and DreamWorks animated movies so many times to the point where I could mute the TV and just recite the entire film from beginning to finish, including like sound effects and everything. So Disney was a huge impact in my life. And then when I got older, I was leaning more into DreamWorks with your Prince of Egypt's, Road to El Dorado's. But the real kicker that like punched me in the teeth when I got to high school was when I discovered Miyazaki for the first time.
Yes.
And the whole concept of like, oh, like Disney has this like, oh, there's fairy godmothers and all the witches are evil. And then when I discovered as a teenager that like, oh, there's a certain fascination with witchness kind of started creeping into my life with like Howl's Moving Castle and Kiki's Delivery Service, to the point where I would hide the fact that I was renting these movies from my parents. And going through into college, the DreamWorks Disney Miyazaki blend of doing a lot of cell shading and flat graphic character designs was very much my thing for a very long time. And going to school for animation to specifically be a character designer that worked in animation, that's what I was kind of training myself for. So I empathize with the whole, you know, here's an established style you have to work in and you have to follow that rule book. But once I got out of working in animation and I really started being like, well, I can add some texture and some flair to things, and my style kind of morphed into what I call the magical realism, where for the most part, with the exception of a few pieces, everything is mostly realistic, but the colors are much more vibrant. I love playing with textures, and I found a love for messy line art that was trained out of me in college, because to be a character designer for 2D animation, your lines had to be clean and they had to be on point. And I was a master at that. But once I gave myself permission to be messy about it after I was no longer working in animation, it unlocked this whole love of calligraphic line where it's extreme thick to thins and lines overlapping each other and not always meeting up correctly, to the point now where it's like, yeah, I could go back to doing super clean line art, but why would I want to? Because I got this delicious, like, something messy over here that I get to experiment and play with. So
interesting. So it sounds like, you know, oh, I was trained on classical music and then I discovered jazz, and then I just went hard into jazz.
And I went hard into
That's
jazz.
what it sounds like.
And then I threw in some like reggae in there too, just for kicks and giggles.
Killer.
And it changes
I love
every week. It changes every week. Yeah. Messy magical realism.
I love it. I love that.
a la Disney and DreamWorks and Miyazaki. That's the best way to describe it.
I can definitely see those influences in your work. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, Britt, I think I'm resonating so much because a lot of the influences you said are exactly what we have some parallels with our origins. So I'll say of this group, I'm probably the most like, I hate to use terms like amateur in the sense of like, I don't do illustration or artwork for a living. I'm a graphic designer, but I've been, as I'm sure almost all of us or all of us have been drawing since we could pick up a crayon, you know, that type of person. And I've been able to incorporate it into some professional work here and there. But no, yeah, I grew up, again, small town. We didn't have, you know, cable TV or whatnot, but we had a lot of, you know, VHSs and played lots of video games. And yeah, between Disney and DreamWorks and some of the, you know, like Legend of Zelda and some other awesome video games and movies, that's where I would get a lot of my inspiration from, in addition to, you know, books. And I think, yeah, when I discovered Miyazaki, that was like a quantum shift in just like knowing what, because again, we were raised on Disney, right? But then there's just this different, like, well, it's called the Disney of Japan. Sometimes we're like, no, it's different. It was awesome. It just kind of blew my mind and shifted things. And then it wasn't really until, gosh, going up to college, I did much more like a classical kind of education and building skill, you know, like studying the masters and doing figure drawing and focusing on both my design education, which continues to be fascinating with, you know, color theory and form and line and psychology, but you know, also leaning into a classical foundation in art, which I think is important for almost anyone going into the craft. But yeah, I didn't find a lot of like I didn't really discover almost like game art, if you will, and like the concept of concept art, and then kind of leading into this, you know, TTRPG world of how art drives a lot of it. And a lot of the artists I follow now, illustrators, concept artists, some of which did also work in animation, that also opened up a new facet. So I have a lot of styles, and I've kind of bounced around a bunch. I think I've always aspired on one end to shoot for realism, but my favorite artists have always been those who incorporate imaginative realism is kind of the bubble, the umbrella term I use for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Lauren, your work, everyone here on this call, essentially, you guys are among my. But yeah, it's something I strive for. Is I love drawing like by hand, either on pencil and paper, or I have an iPad now, so I love drawing on the screen itself. I had one of those old Intuos Wacom tablets where like you had to draw down.
Oh my god!
But you're looking at the screen, and oh my gosh!
Yep.
Did it? It was great. It was great for what it was, but man, once you can draw on a screen, it's so much better.
I can't wait.
Long story short, yeah. I mean, it's harder now with my time, with working full time as a designer. I also have 2 young kids, so I try to practice when I can with the nap time and after they're in bed. But yeah, I'm working on reworking on skill. I resonate a lot with what we were talking about, with looking back on artwork that you made and you're like, how did I do that? Like, that was me. That's amazing. What did I do? I have a lot of that. So I'm kind of in a stage now of, I've spent time away from it. I'm building back up, like exercising those muscles that I know I have. They're under there somewhere. But I'm kind of experimenting at this point, like finding, okay, I'm not the same person I was back when I was a teenager, back in college, back, even 5 years ago before I had kids. And so kind of just teasing that out. But I do aspire to a more, kind of an imaginative realism, like proportion, anatomy, all that's got to be there, but like injecting that magic, that, stretching reality a little bit. And I'm most comfortable with line art, and I'm color still, even as a designer. Like, I can do color all the day long in like page layouts and book covers and stuff. When it comes to like, paint, I think I have to paint for real more. But yeah, I'm kind of in this interesting stage of like rediscovering what my style is and sharpening those skills again. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Hell yeah. Well, I guess it's my turn. If it makes you feel any better, Katherine, I have also never until now really been a professional artist. Up until a year ago, I was still driving a forklift, and I've done like sort of blue collar or service jobs my whole life. But I also have been drawing my entire life, much like I'm sure all of you have. Basically, since as soon as I can remember, I've been pretty passionate about it. And that's sort of where my cartoonists are born in middle school math classes. I like to, that's sort of the tagline for my Mick Cartoons, which is like the sort of umbrella. If I ever get an LLC, it's going to be Mick Cartoons, and then DnDoodles is under that umbrella. Anyway, the reason I say that is because a lot of my sort of artistic journey is I really appreciate limitations and guidelines and sort of rule sets when it comes to art. Not laws and not things that, this is right, this is wrong. I refuse to listen to anybody that says you drew that wrong. And anybody listening, if people are telling you that, then they are wrong. Unless you're working for a production and you have to maintain a...
unless your art director says so.
Yeah, unless it's kind of like a certain, whatever. But if you're just... Yeah, I get all that. Agreed. But if you're just drawing something, dude, there's no such thing as right and wrong. But anyway, I like limitations and I like line work. So most of my artistic journey was computer paper and Sharpies. I used to draw. You can do quite a bit with just black and white. You can do a lot of different texture. You can, with a certain cross hatching, you can make something look like a rock or a piece of chainmail or a rusty sword. and it could be the exact same lines, but within different contexts, it could be a completely different thing. I also love storytelling when it comes to art. I like when you can look at something and, sort of see all the pieces and imagine how those pieces fall together. So I think that's why I like character design so much. So you can, tell people's stories based on what they have or don't have, Some of my early inspirations, I'm not going to sit here and give you an entire list because we'd be here for a while, but some notable ones are Gary Larson from The Far Side, Bill Watterson, Calvin and Hobbes. Shout out to whoever drew specifically the rocks and mountainscapes in the Bionicle comics. Because
Oh,
That's so specific.
that's a deep cut.
That's real specific, but I understand.
Look up the
I
Bionicle
appreciate
And I'm
comic
looking up-
first issue, and where it's got Kopaka standing there. Look at how he draws the mountains in the back. I was like, that's how I'm going to draw rocks for the rest of my life. Also a big fan of a lot of my background is also in animation. Nothing super professional or like that, but I grew up making post-it note flip books. I still have, I think, every single one that I made, and one day, if I have enough money, I would love to pay somebody to take them apart and digitize them, because there's no way I'm doing it. But it'd be cool to see all my old, I loved watching, Newgrounds videos, stick figures fighting each other, and eventually I discovered anime. I was that kid in middle school who had a Naruto headband. I didn't wear it, but I did have one.
Same.
Yeah, I mean,
put
I
that
did
out there.
That's fine.
Yeah, so I loved Naruto, eventually Cowboy Bebop, Akira, stuff like that. I sort of fell out of anime for a while because I started... I think I viewed... I wasn't getting the right lessons from trying to imitate the style. So when I was learning, because I'm mostly self-taught, I've been drawing my whole life, and then I went to community college, and then eventually I wanted to get an associate's and then transfer to SCAD, and then decided I didn't want to pay for school anymore and also be in school anymore, so I didn't. But what was I saying? I just lost my train of thought. I just totally spaced. Okay, how about I'll tie it into limitations and color. So I like lines and black and white a lot, and I didn't really do anything with color until college. And then I was like, there are too many colors. I'm just going to get red, yellow, and blue, and I'll mix them if I need anything else. So anytime I get a new medium, if it's art or if it's paint or if it's markers, I'll just get primary colors, and that quells the choice paralysis that is the entirety of the color spectrum.
Oh boy, yep, I know that.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, that's kind of what Mandi was talking about with answering questions, because the limitations allows, because I've often found if I sit down and I'm like, Lauren, you must make art today, I'm like, no, I'm gonna play video games instead. But if someone commissions me or an art director says, hey, Lauren, you need to do this, you're like, got it. I'm gonna research everything on that specific subject until I'm a complete and utter expert, and then I'm gonna give you that. And sometimes having a limitation, or someone being like, hey, take all of your creativity and focus it here, is like, cool, got it, no worries. And it's similar, I think, to what you're saying with the limitations, where you don't have to ask as many questions, you don't have to answer as many questions, and I can see why you lean there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really, but that's
and also it tends to lend itself to more creative problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
If anybody is familiar with Isaac Asimov and the iRobot series, not the Will Smith movie, but there were recurring characters in all the short stories. There were these two, they're like robot detectives, and their goal was, and also this is my pitch to make this a like dry British sitcom. So you get the two detectives, and basically they have to figure out what is wrong with this robot within the confines of the three laws of robotics. If you're familiar, the first law is you cannot harm a human or through an action allow a human to come to harm. Rule 2 is you have to do what a human says unless it conflicts with step 1. And rule 3 is you must preserve yourself unless it conflicts with rules 1 and 2. So one of the examples I remember was there's a robot that is running in circles around this like radioactive ore on Mars that he's trying to harvest, and he's singing show tunes. And he's like, why the hell? What is this guy doing? And eventually they find out that he was sent to go pick up this material, and it started to like interfere with his brain. And basically he was super confused because he knew that if he brought it back to the human, it would harm them because it's radioactive. But the human told him to take it to him. So he has to do what the human says. But if he takes it to him, then it's going to harm the human. But if I don't take it, and so he ends up just like running in circles. And that is a long way to say I like simple constraints with vast creative ramifications.
Can I also venture in here to say that explanation of what you like about the constraints, but being creative and finding solutions, I think that blends perfectly into why we've all found ourselves into a TTRPG space.
Oh, yeah.
D&D related space.
Yeah.
Because how many times it's like your character is in a dungeon, there's no lights, you gotta get out. What do you do? And it's like, okay, you are in a situation, and find creative solutions to get out of said situation into another one. And
yeah,
how many different ways can you make the DM facepalm and make them panic while they think of another name that they were not expecting to have to think of?
Could we spend 3 hours shopping for a new magic sword?
Guys, that's just my party. You're talking about my party.
Wait, I thought that was my party.
Yeah, wait, if it's your party, it's my party, then who's flying the plane?
Oh my god.
I love
it's demons.
I've been in a Waterdeep campaign for almost 3 years. We did Dragon Horde, and then we are into Tomb of the Mad Mage. So we've been in Undermountain for like a year and a half of real lifetime, like a real human time. And I am a Tabaxi Paladin, Oath of Redemption. So he's a pacifist and he's a nerd. He like grew up in a library basically. And so I'm making a detailed map of Undermountain. We're on like floor 7 or something stupid. And so my poor paladins just trying to keep our group together. Meanwhile, they're all of them are scattered around trying to figure out what kinds of things they can put in their mouth. And I'm not a parent myself, but Katherine, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You say, what did you put in your mouth? Get that out. Don't touch that. And that's
I lost track of how many times I asked that every day.
Yeah,
Drop
it. What's that? Why is it sticky? What's in your mouth?
Why are your hands orange?
Did it too quiet? Why is it too quiet?
D&D is just a bunch of toddlers running around.
Something too quiet.
It's too quiet.
Absolutely, but hey, I get bonus XP for making the map, so it's not all bad.
Nice.
Well, I think that should probably segue here into maybe some more questions related to the creativity in the D&D, but still including the art. Maybe trying to synthesize some of this rambling that I've proposed here for all of us to discuss. And I love this conversation and where it's been going and meandering, but maybe to kind of bring it around a little bit. So maybe just kind of interested in everyone's take or perspective on how, you came to TTRPGs and D&D and, whatever edition it was, you saw the art. How did that art, speak to you and how you approached the game? And then as your creative individuals and your people and you're playing the game and you're imagining the game and your lens and focus and how you like to do the art, how have you seen that like inspire your TTRPG characters and campaigns that you're in?
I'll answer first because I think I remembered also half of what I wanted to say before, because I interrupted myself and rambled in a different direction. But I love cartoons, and I love less representational art. All of you said you like magical realism, and I think that's beautiful. And I obviously am a big fan of like Miyazaki and anime and that type of art style, but I also love stuff that is completely out of the bounds of reality, caricatures and over-the-top expressions and lines that don't make sense. And the reason that I think it lends very well to TTRPGs is because you as the audience to the art have to do more effort, I suppose, in deciphering the art in your head versus just looking at an image of something that is directly representational. And that's sort of what D&D is. It's like it's community storytelling. I think at its best, it is first and foremost an excuse to hang out with people and have fun. But it's storytelling with math. It's like you have your slight rule sets and your deviations from the rule sets, but really you're trying to craft a narrative, and you're all trying to sort of imagine something together. So everyone's going to imagine something slightly differently in their head. So when you have something that is representational in the real world that is a lot more vague or a lot more open to interpretation, obviously it's going to lend itself more easily to being interpreted in different ways. And then, like if I draw a stick figure, the stick figure is going to look completely different to everybody who looks at it. Someone's going to say, oh, that's a ninja. Someone's going to say, oh, that's a cowboy. Oh, that's a whatever. And I think that's having that in a game that is so intrinsically tied to imagination is a really cool thing.
Do you mind stating the question for me one more time? Sorry. It was...
Sure, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think the way I was kind of proposing it is like, you first came to TTRPG, with whatever edition it was, you've grown up and you've seen fantasy art, like in your head.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
when someone says D&D, like you might see the first edition art, or maybe you see, for me, it's like 4th edition, because I came in 4th edition. So I'm used to like Wayne Reynolds being like my introduction to like D&D art and stuff like that. But basically it's like you saw that as your starting point. So how has that creatively, impacted, your TTRPG characters and your campaigns, and how you've seen like the influence of fantasy art and stuff like that? Like where, you got your start, but then you taking it and putting it through your own creative lens and filter and such, how has it influenced your games and your campaigns and such?
Well, I mean, I would say for me personally, my first, I don't know which edition it was. It was probably 3.5, right? It was 3.5, right? Around that era. And like, I had seen like drow art for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. They have white hair. They're so cool. And I was like, I want to play one. And then, of course, I was, I didn't know anyone to play with. And at that time, going to a comic book shop and being like, feminine presenting was like, it was just did not go well. So I kind of never really got to play D&D when I had first seen the art. But what happened was that around that time was when I got sucked into the vortex of my entire life into World of Warcraft. And then I saw night elves, and then I went, they're purple. They kind of look like drow. Oh my God. And then kind of went into that direction. And then, which is why, like, I think Blizzard's art style was very influential to me growing up. Just like, especially at that time too, into what, because it transformed between like Warcraft into vanilla and into modern WoW. The art style has changed multiple different times, but like that kind of like the textures and like how different things sat, and I've had to unlearn some like, listen, I've had notes where they're like, Lauren, your pauldrons are way too big, and I'm like, listen, I'm sorry, I grew up playing World of Warcraft, it's not my fault, I'm sorry.
The Emperor disapproves.
There's no such
Yeah.
thing as
Pauldrons need to
pauldrons
be
that are too
bigger.
big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, listen, if the pauldrons aren't big, it's not fantasy. I don't know what to tell you. I'm kidding.
like-
but
If they
Or
say
am
people
I?
are making the ears too long, that's impossible.
Listen, have you seen the ears on my night elves that I draw as of late? They are like,
love them.
They're out there, dude. I'm like
gotta be.
bigger.
How
They
else are
got
they going to hear
eyebrows,
things?
too.
Hello.
Get those
Yeah.
eyebrows out.
The eyebrows, okay, to the credit of, listen, those
I love
eyebrows
me
are
some eyebrows.
hard to draw in perspective. Let me tell you what.
Yep.
I don't know who was on what when they were like, yeah, give him those eyebrows. Like, okay, I want to talk to Chris Metzen and be like, what were you doing? Anyway, side note. But my point is like, that kind of influenced a lot of my own RP in D&D, of like kind of jokey but also serious at the same time, and like having that kind of flavor. I think artistically in my own characters, I think it wasn't necessarily that Warcraft influenced how my D&D characters are now, but how I think I have to artistically, I have to like, I do with any character that I have, I don't really know who they are until I draw them. I don't know who they are until I design them. I don't know who because like to the whole like you were saying before, Mandi, with like the questions that are answered, like very often like I don't process that character until I'm actually drawing them, and I'm having those questions, and I'm like, what kind of belt do you wear, and why do you wear it the way that you do? Do you have pouches? Are you the type of person who has a bunch of different trinkets on them all the time, or different tools on them all the time? And then like I almost process the character through drawing, but it's not necessarily based on styles that have influenced me, but like based off of those questions that I'm trying to process. And honestly, that's also influenced in a way whenever I'm doing stuff for like Wizards or like even like Lorcana stuff, or like really any client work, I'm in a way drawing my own character and asking questions of the character while I'm drawing them. And like similar to like the work that I did for the new player handbook, like the Draconic Sorcerer, like I received notes that it was supposed to be like a silver dragon Draconic Sorcerer, and I had received some like, like different information about like design language that they wanted. And like I basically was like, okay, well, like processing that character through artwork for the book and being like, well, would they be proud of their heritage of silver, like of being, from the line of like silver dragons, and how would they display that, and how would they, would they be like, would it be subtle, or would it be like small things that you wouldn't know unless you were part of people who also had that heritage or lineage? And it's just like little things like that I process through painting and drawing the character. But I do think that like, that is fantasy characters though too, is like we're all kind of like again, storytelling, like you were saying, but like there's so much storytelling in fantasy art, like on the scale of like, those like massive paintings in like the MoMA or like in the Met of like huge battles, and everyone's got like crazy stuff going on. It's like that's also a story. And like it's like trying to find the little bits and bobs that are storytelling within the character visually. And that's fantasy art itself too, of like all of these little like story moments of, yeah, they've got their rapier out and they're about to stab the beholder, but like there's like, maybe there's a pendant or a broken compass on the ground. Why is it there? Like, what's the story behind the compass? Like, it's just like little bits and bobs in fantasy art in general that I think just lends itself so much to storytelling in general. But yeah, sorry, I kind of ranted there for a second. but yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I started in 2016. I'd played some stuff in college, but it was really informal rather, and it was, I don't know, somebody that was really passionate and said, why don't we all sit down and do a Star Wars thing? And I'm like, I don't know nothing about none of this, but it was fun. And so, around 2016, I ended up doing a Saltmarsh campaign with some friends in a Discord server that I was introduced through my wife's college friend group. And I am somebody who loves to laugh. A lot of my art is imbued with my humor. So a biblically accurate Garfield with a giant fork, and also a Furby fortune teller, affectionately called the Furption teller, who has a worm on a string inside her glitter-filled, crystal ball. I love adding bits of my own humor into things, and just because it's silly and it makes me smile. And when people say, oh, that's actually hilarious, it touches a deep part of myself. And so, of course, for my first campaign, and I am very much a rule follower, no matter how giggly and silly. I don't like to play a character to be a joke. I like to make jokes, but I don't like to be a frustrating person to play with. If there's a fine line.
For sure.
So my first character hit me right in the neurodivergent spot in my brain, and it said, hey, there is a race called a Kenku. That sounds cool. Oh, me, Chatty Cathy, can only speak through mimicry. That's not going to be hard at all. And so I made an Excel spreadsheet and wrote down phrases that I remembered from my party and from NPCs, and I wrote down who said them, what their tone of speaking was, what kind of inflection there was, and so that I had as much of an accurate representation to bring it back at any moment in time, especially for comedic effect. And or because they can hear sound, they can repeat sound effects sometimes. When the room got quiet for a moment and I wanted to laugh, I would have her make a sound effect that was especially poignant. And that kind of thing, using that character's limitation, as Hank had said, limitations can breed creativity. And being a character that could not speak fluent sentences and had to rely on what they've heard, realistically in their scenario, was fascinating. And so I didn't actually get exposure to much of D&D's art because for a long time I actually didn't have any of the resources. I had what was being given to me through my DM, and I had done enough research to thoroughly understand the character I would be playing and what her technical function had to be, because it was very overwhelming being a beginner. But I had a lot of really patient people that guided me through it in a really kind and special way, where we ended up growing together, through being a little band of pirates in Saltmarsh, and with a silly little bird that would make a fart noise every once in a while just to get the gang laughing. But for me, but even before that, I think Aragon was a big deal to me. The Aragon books when I was in middle school, that slapped.
Yeah, too bad they never made any movies. It would have been cool if there was a movie. Too bad that never happened.
Too bad they didn't make any movies that'll ever.
Damn. Guess it's too bad.
Darn it.
I love to read. I'd gotten really into manga, and rest in peace Borders, but I would go to Borders, if anyone remembers that.
Yeah.
And I would read the manga, and my mom is like, Mandi, what is this? What is this Japanese stuff that you're looking at? I'm like, Mom, it's Ouran High School Host Club. You wouldn't understand.
I was like, wait, is it going to be Fruits Basket or High School Host Club?
Listen, Mom, they all think she's a boy. She broke a vase and she owes them millions of yen. And my mom's like, what are you talking about? So my interpretation of fantasy, I didn't grow up with Tolkien. I didn't grow up with family that had a lot of influence from 80s rock fantasy. I didn't have very many masculine presence in my life either. So I come from the glitter, unicorn, and rainbows side of things, and I think I like to shove that into D&D, which is very gritty and raw sometimes. And so every character that I make gets a little bit less glitter and rainbow, but gets a little bit more knowledgeable about D&D and about what it means to be in this world. So from going from a Kenku, that's just a silly little guy, to being a cat, a large hairless cat man that is really just the good boy of the party who has to keep them all in line, who's slowly being jaded by Undermountain. And now I'm playing an Eladrin in another campaign that is a homebrew based off of a university run by dragons. And he is an Eladrin with like war trauma, and so his colors manifest in like splotches instead of one season at a time. And it's an association with his head trauma, so your seasons are out of balance, you know. And me doing a lot of research on how veterans have worked through, you know, mobility issues and mental cloudiness and like hidden disability, and learning how that impacts even your fine motor skills, and really trying to put myself into someone else's feet instead of just making myself into this fantasy realm. It's been such a huge opportunity for me to learn more about other people, not even the people that I'm playing with, but people that I've never met before, simply because, you know, they're a big part of the character that I'm playing, and through that character I heal parts of myself. So I think the art from D&D that really most influences me is the art that my friends are making, and the characters that they're bringing to the table, not even the official art. Because if you were to ask me an illustrator from any of the D&D books, I could not tell you a single one. And every time I make a tiefling, I ignore that they say that they're not red, and I make them red and pink anyway. I make them red anyway. Anyway, that's not about me.
Guidelines, the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, they're actually gray. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're every color ever, and you can't tell me otherwise.
I guess I'll jump in. Yeah, I didn't start playing D&D until 5th edition. I think it was also in 2016. I guess like kind of two parts. So it's interesting how, looking back, I'm like, okay, I actually had seen work by artists who I now know contributed art to the rule books or the expanded, you know, materials or whatnot from Wizards of the Coast and the various publishers. And through either they were book illustrators or they were concept artists for movies or TV, or I took a couple of, you know, online mentorships or classes, mainly just for like art or illustration, we'll just say. And it turns out that looking at their work, I'm like, oh, that's cool fantasy art. I wonder what that's from. Oh, Dungeons & Dragons. Okay, move on. You know, and I wasn't playing at the time, but it's interesting now to see like the yellow brick road of art that kind of eventually led to this aha moment of like, wow, a lot of my favorite artists, they've all contributed in some way. How cool. But my, the way I found Dungeons & Dragons particularly, I haven't played a lot of other TTRPG systems, but was through Critical Role, as a lot of people have. A lot of people here love it. A very good friend of mine, she turned me on to it, and as a result, I mean, the art community is just incredible. From the get-go, from you know, when it first started, you know, live streaming, and up till now, where they now have their own TV shows and all sorts of other things. So that was very inspiring to kind of see not just professional artists, but amateur artists, you know, up-and-comers who are now very well established, and some of them are on this call here. And then as I played the game, saw the source books, saw, you know, the whole shebang of art, that it was just so like, wow, this is everything. I think growing up, seeing kind of the more traditional stuff associated with like Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia and like Aragon and all these other books and shows or whatnot, it's kind of like that all grew up, and this is like the what's the word I'm looking for? It's just how it all came together for me. Like all my influences, all the artists I love. And what I love too is that, well, I forget who said it, a lot of Dungeons & Dragons is very gritty and, you know, can be dark at times, but especially watching live play like Critical Role, and now actually having played, how also unserious it is, how fun and playful it can be. And also, you know, there could be horrible battles raging and whatnot, but like still finding humor and points of light in it, it's delightful. And so as far as how it's influenced my characters, I mean, I love world building. I love designing. Anytime I come up with a story in my head from when I was a kid till now, it always starts with a character. Always starts with the people who inhabit this world. And so I love to kind of dive into like, okay, how does this character fit into the setting I'm in? Okay, need to have them grounded somehow. I'm also a person who doesn't like really play a joke character. Maybe someday I'll be brave enough to. I'm still learning. But so I'll try to establish them into the world that they're in, and then from there, you know, try something different. Like, okay, this I had a character who was you know, she's a wizard. She grew up in a library, but she's an evoker. She's very fire based. Like, like she has to leave and go on this adventure. And it was interesting to see the things I was reading or watching influenced what she looked like. And now I'm also taking inspiration from real world stuff in my own life. And I've found it's injected not only into sort of the looks, but definitely the personality. And the personality, as we all know, of a character can heavily influence how they dress, how they pose, how they, you know, embody. So while I have some more recent characters who might be a bit more either physically imposing or very like charismatic and loose, they do have an element of care and softness and compassion. So finding ways to kind of juxtapose this, like how they present themselves, but also this other side to them. So yeah, it's interesting.
I think I actively avoided TTRPGs for a very, very long time. My first ever exposure to it was in 2009. My then fiance got his buddies together and their girlfriends and wanted to do a post-apocalyptic, like zombie apocalypse campaign. And it wasn't D&D, but it was another one that was geared more towards that, where they all had all these cool abilities and blah, blah, blah. And when I was brought in it, my fiance sat me down next to him and he's like, okay, and you're going to play our battlefield medic, which was like their version of the cleric. And he went through and picked out all the stuff for me and did not let me, like, I had very little agency. I didn't like the experience. None of the women at the table liked it at all.
Shocker. So like
we stepped away after a single session. We're like, we don't want to do this. So by the time, like almost to the date, about 10 years later, or thereabouts, one of the girls that was at that table with me was my best friend. And she was like, I'm going to run a D&D game. It's my own world that I made up. You should come over, make a character, and we'll have a night of it. And I was like, absolutely not. And they were just like, well, you know, just try it for me. Just see. And the game lasted for a year. We made it to like level 10. Plot twist, we didn't know we were working for the bad guy until we released like a betrayer from his lines.
As you do.
And then the second half of it was supposed to be the redemption arc, where we go and we bring down that god by finding like vestiges and, you know, doing the thing. And I loved it. It was so fun, but I still hadn't seen any of the art from any of it. So this is going to slightly fangirl. It was not until I moved in to this current apartment right before the pandemic hit with a friend of mine from college. And I would come home from temping at night at my temp job. And on Thursdays, my friend was on the couch at 7 p.m. to watch something called Critical Role. And they were like, oh, it's D&D. And I was like, oh, whatever. And I wasn't really super interested in it, but they're like, no, sit down. Like, just here, sit down and watch. It's actually pretty fun. I sat down, and one of the first things I remember was I got there in time for the art scroll to be going, because this was 2019. So this was back when they still did the live feed. And I got to see all of this fan art that was made for this show. And it was really cool to see, like, oh, wait, I follow that artist. What's that? So seeing other people's fan art of the show was what initially got me into it. Then I watched the live play. Then I was like, oh, okay. And around the same time, I started playing in a D&D game here for a bit. And then once the pandemic hit and we all kept watching, I was seeing like, Lauren, I saw some of your stuff on there and I saw this other thing. Then I started looking into official D&D art. And I didn't know any of those people. I didn't know any of those artists. But I was still a little hesitant because I'm like, well, I can't, not that I can't do art like that. I can if I really wanted to. That painterly fantastic style is just not something that I normally do. But I desperately wanted to make art that was in a D&D realm. So it started with me making fan art of my own characters and then fan art of the show. Then I discovered Dimension 20 when a friend of mine was like, you should watch Fantasy High. And all of their characters were much more along the lines of creatively how I worked. Was flat colors, cell shading, line art, and the episodes were shorter, they were more kind of kooky and funny and edited down. So I found the two of those and I was like, oh, they can coexist. You can have this big epic art style that is fantasy with texture and painterly motions, but you can also have this quirky, funny side. And it's been interesting watching actually the two of those be so far apart, starting to blend further and further towards each other. Into this happy medium where I kind of exist now, where it's like I'm halfway between the two, very much enjoying this space. So the original like big fantastical vistas of traditional D&D art was not something I had experience with. All mine, most of it came from Critical Role, then Dimension 20, seeing everybody's fan art, and then me wanting to get a little piece of the action of wanting to do that stuff. And what really got me hooked was the first time I submitted the very first piece of fan art that I ever made for Critical Role. I submitted because my friend told me that I should to the pre-art scroll. And that week when we tuned in, I saw my art of not saying, I have a list, and there's a giant scroll that runs off and Frumpkin is laying on the end of the scroll like how cats do. They just get on your stuff. And I was so shell-shocked to be like, oh my god, D&D people actually like this? Wait, okay, can I do more? And then I went even more unhinged, and when I discovered Worlds Beyond Number, then I'm like, oh my god, this isn't even a visual medium and I want to make fan art of it. I just want to do this all the time. Can I just do this all the time? And all of those more modern influences of art in D&D, specifically the fan art community, was what really got me into it. And kind of cherry picking little things that I saw other D&D people doing, like, hey, that tiefling's blue, that tiefling's purple, that one's got antlers instead of horns for some reason, they have cloven feet, what's this? Like, being real weird with selections. And so it's kind of weird to say it wasn't D&D that got me into the original art, it was the fan art that got me into the other art. And that's where I exist, and that's my happy place. Is all of that art that was created during that time and continues to be created. I love seeing how fans interpret stuff that they see / hear, and then sometimes seeing how that actually makes it into the final cut of the official stuff. It seems like this big give and take balance between the fans of something and the creators of something, and seeing them inform each other is really unique and fun for me.
Well, if I have any dog in this fight, as someone who's not a doodler or a scribbler, I mean, I've done, my fair share growing up, but like I said, I started in 4th edition, Halloween night, 2010. This is my very first game of D&D in San Angelo, Texas, in a 2-bedroom apartment with my fraternity brother and his fiance and a couple of our other friends getting together. And I was a human wizard named Otto von Krieg, and a wall of a tavern exploded and a bunch of goblins poured in, and all of us sprung into action, and the Winter Contingency Trading Company lived on in history, and we switched DMs and all that stuff. Stories I've told time and time again on the podcast. But yeah, like I said, Wayne Reynolds for sure was kind of like my first foray into seeing D&D art presented in the 4th edition books. But even before that, being a video gamer, being someone, who liked Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and just fantasy in general, and being a huge, cartoon watcher and movie watcher, certainly that is all fed into me whenever I play a character, and certainly as a dungeon master. And, it goes without saying, one of the panelists, I am the dungeon master for campaign, which has certainly been a very unique experience of okay, I have one person's undivided attention, and it's literally this whole wealth of influence. And certainly seeing Katherine's, depictions of characters and scenes or whatnot from the campaign just, fill me with joy, because it's I want to imagine how Bellamy Copperpot, the shield bearer fighter gif guy, looks. And then she's she finds the hippo and she draws Bellamy, and I'm that's Bellamy now. I know what Bellamy looks like when I didn't before. Or she draws a red-skinned tiefling, Xeris, her PC character's husband. So there's all sorts of cool characters getting to meet from that. And then just getting to find pieces of media to stick in the campaign. And like Katherine said, with world building, how the two of us meld, and the homebrew world I have just continues to grow more and more interesting and bigger and better, whether it's, specifically lifting Robin Williams and Nathan Lane's birdcage characters to be a pair of satyrs, that risque clothing store called Threadbare All, or if it's,
Love them, Your Honor. They're so great.
or any number of interesting characters that we've made. Yeah, so whether they're from obscure reference, or I'm just I just need an idea and I just roll some random dice and I'm sure, Goliath is here running this bakery. Yeah, and then I just kind of come up with some character notes, and then it makes the world interesting. So yeah, I'm just looking at our time, and we've been having such a great conversation. I certainly don't want to keep anyone at the pub too late. And I think we've alluded to it in the beginning. Kind of, maybe it's the albatross hanging over art and creativity. Technology. Technology's been great. We started with caves and watercolors and charcoal pencils and paper and pen and digital tablets. And now we've entered a new realm, opened a new Pandora's box as far as AI is concerned. So there's, I guess, if that's to be where we end this tonight, again, in the interest of not keeping everyone too late, whether their carriage turns into a pumpkin. But I don't know. I'm just kind of curious of everyone's thoughts on AI. Are there boundaries? We're talking about limits and boundaries. Obviously, we don't want to be using it for commercial gain, because, if you're training AI on other people's portfolios, because I can't do it, but if I could learn how to do, if I could have a machine spit out a bad replica copy of something, then I could be yeah, that's good enough. I can slap it on something and sell it. We don't want that, but at the same time, it's maybe for your private use with your friends, is that okay, as long as you don't commercialize it? Or I don't know. I'm just kind of curious what everyone's, sage wisdom and advice has to be on this subject. Yeah.
If y'all don't mind, I have some. I have a lot of opinions on this, so I'm not going to. I made some notes. Don't worry. I have two sort of takes that I would like to share, because I think there are a lot of people talking about it that have a lot of interesting things to say about it. But I think, first and foremost, I have never really particularly felt threatened by it, because it's dumb and lame, and it's not the same as real art. That's my super baseline bottom line takeaway. One thing that I don't really see a lot of people talking about, which again I think sort of ties into my, I guess, professional background, working mostly in what you would consider just the labor force, service. I worked in warehouses and bartending, barista, that type of stuff. The biggest thing, not to get too political, but I think the biggest thing that is really affecting the world and the economy and people at large is technology replacing jobs and driving down wages, making people at the top richer, making every single person under them less so. And that has been going on for years. There are entire towns that used to be completely funded by the one factory and everybody worked there. And then automation comes and all those jobs are gone. And kind of just what's going to happen, at a certain point, you can't complain about every lost job. I don't see people complaining about elevator operators not existing anymore, So there's going to be a degree of that. So part of me, and again, this is the hot take, part of me is like, okay, so now with AI, image generation, for the first time in history, creative jobs are at risk of being automated away. So for the first time, all these people are feeling threatened by technology and automation. And part of me wants to say, okay, welcome to the club. Everyone's been concerned about that. But also, it is a very real thing, and it is a threatening thing. People are losing jobs, and that's not something to be scoffed at. I would like more of the conversation to be about that, because I think I hear a lot of people saying, oh, well, it's stealing. It's stealing from people's portfolios, and obviously that is true, and it is a much more direct thieving relationship than the rest of art, because all art is theft. Good artists borrow and great artists steal. That's an original quote by me, by the way. That's a joke about theft. Yeah, so I've always felt like it's stealing was never enough of an argument for why AI images feel gross. My second point, again, because I feel myself rambling, so I'll get to my second point, which is I hear a lot of people who argue for AI image generation, and I'm being very specific to say image generation and not art. But people think that AI makes art accessible. It's like, oh, it's an accessibility thing. There's people who have never been able to, they don't have access to a tablet, or they don't have, and again, this is not a conversation about economic privileges or whether or not you can make money off of art. If we just want to talk about the act of creating art, right? If you take away all of the ramifications or societal context of that, if you're just making art, does AI make that accessible? I think it is a big fat no, and anybody who thinks so is, it's like, okay, so have you never seen someone with no arms paint a picture? Have you ever listened to a blind or a deaf composer or a blind composer? It's like, you're gonna say it's frankly, it's disrespectful and it's stupid to think that it's like an accessibility or disability thing, because the only impediment, if that's a word, to creating art is the desire to do so. So if you think, if the thing that for you is inaccessible, if the thing is making art, then you're just admitting to me that you're lazy and you want an easy way out, or you want someone else to do it for you. And that's not art. I don't know about, I don't play enough D&D to know how people feel about, like, oh, I just made this AI thing of my character. It's like, or, oh, I wanted to have a tavern background for this specific scene. I think that there are arguments for and against it. bottom line, also, I think it's just way too new, and it is growing so fast, and that freaks people out. And we haven't really had any time to process it. I still remember when like the best AI video was the biblically accurate Will Smith eating spaghetti, and now people are literally like being gaslit by Facebook to believe in the craziest things because like, oh, I saw a video of it. It's like, dude, that's AI. What do you? It's gotten so good. I don't know. A lot of it's spooky. A lot of it is threatening, but also I think people are turning into the fact that it's cheap and soulless, and you don't feel anything when you look at it. You can look at one picture that was made by people actually at Studio Ghibli, and then you can look at something that may look exactly the same that was generated by ChatGPT, and you can't tell me that
people can't tell.
That people can't tell, or that people can't feel anything. It's like I don't get it. So I don't really feel as an artist, as someone who loves drawing things, I don't feel particularly threatened by it because it's not the same thing.
Well, to the point of accessibility, it has never been so accessible for someone to create something. For the example of, oh, I just wanted to make a character real quick, but I don't know how to draw. I don't have somebody that can draw it for me. Picrew exists. Artists have made Picrew, and for those of you that don't know, it is quite literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of artists creating a character creator where you just pick the eyes, you pick the hair, you pick the clothing, and they make D&D inspired ones specifically where you have different classes and races and armor, and they have it's free. It's 100% free. It's all people that are super passionate. If you wanted to, one of my favorite quotes is, if you wanted to, you would. If you wanted to make it, you would.
Yep.
So personally, it is just an awful excuse because we're all guilty of it, with social media and how much information we're all processing. Humans were never meant to read so much. We were never meant to look at things so much all the time. One of the things that plays very well into my Y2K themed VTuber is that back when I was, starting on the internet, the online was a place that you went to and like did things in little places and then logged off and left. Yep. But now the internet, for those of us that rely on art, or even, you don't rely on art at all for your income, for your livelihood, you need to apply to things online. You need to do your banking online. You need to look up where you need to go. You got to pay your bills. You cannot go anywhere without having online presence. It's viciously necessary. And this has conditioned everyone to have expectation of immediate results, and it's now finally translated to art. The technology has caught up where someone can say, I'm going to type in that I want a bear eating an apple, and wow, this machine can give me a photorealistic image of a bear eating an apple like a person. Why did I want this? I don't know, but I can have it, and it's here right now. And if I can do that with this, something that I don't care about, what if I actually wanted art? What if I actually wanted something? And instead of spending money that I don't have for somebody who needs to take time that I don't want to spend, or I don't want to learn a skill that took someone else 25 years to create and is for their whole lifetime, I don't want to wait. I want it now. And I'm going to use disability, whether or not I have any of my own. It's not pertinent. I'm going to use disability as an excuse to justify using this. Oh, it's more accessible now. Just think of how many people have more accessibility to art. No. There are people out there making art. You can find dungeon maps for free. You can find dungeon maps, you can find movable assets, tokens, character creators, name generators, all of which people have physically and creatively contributed to. So no, that is simply just an excuse. And this is the personal side, but the professional side, as somebody who is all I have is illustration. It's my degree, it's my livelihood, it's my friends, it's my personal life. I have quite literally nothing else. My whole job is to be told by my employer or my art director what they want, and then I make it real. That's my purpose. And so when, when it said, oh, I'm not really threatened too much by it. Well, I am, because when I go on major job searching platforms like LinkedIn or Indeed, a lot of those entry-level positions that were an opportunity for people to be trained up and for a company to
They don't
invest.
exist anymore.
Yes, there's no, and it's for any job, art or otherwise. There is no longer a culture in North American business to invest in an employee's growth. They need to, it's
a generation's growth, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
The entire Gen Z is literally like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no,
but
you're good.
But like, it literally, there's an issue right now with like senior game devs not being able to train junior game devs to replace the senior game devs in the next 5 to 10 years. It's literally like, it's a short, I want to let you continue to speak, but it's a short-term positive net gain for companies that will kill their industry within the next 5 to 10 years. It's crazy. Sorry, please continue.
Oh,
Sorry.
Playing off of that, the conversation in a workplace about AI and its potential is so scary, because you and I, whether we oversee people, whether we're in management, I have been in management, I'm not currently, but I can see it when I get a request that's asinine and nonsensical, that tells me that manager that has total power over what it is that I'm making has no idea what I'm talking about. And so if that person who is looking me in the eye and watching me make this stuff doesn't know how to phrase a question, what to ask, how to direct me, then the people that are above them and the people above them and the people above them that have never, they don't even know I exist. I am a name in Microsoft Teams, and barely that. They'll probably never even see it. And so if you have a top-down view of your company and someone says, hey, this Mandi person sure is spending a lot of time making 75 mock-ups for a game. She sure is doing storyboards and all that stupid nonsense. What's she doing all that for? Oh, color compositions and swatches? What are those? Why don't we just integrate AI into our pipeline? It's going to cut off all of that stuff that Mandi's been taking forever doing. But what they're not seeing is that Mandi's management, her mandiment, that doesn't really work. Anyway.
No, I love it. I love it.
Mandi's managers
I'm so mad.
don't know what to ask her. They are giving her open-ended questions. They are giving her non-solution solutions. They are asking for new versions of things. They are changing their minds. And so from the top down, I was as fast and efficient as you could reasonably expect a human being to be with a decade of experience working for corporate art. But what they see is, wow, she sure is wasting a lot of time, because her name is what's attached to this art. And so it's the moment that they want to bring AI into your workplace, it becomes, why don't you just do a couple mock-ups? Why don't you let that storyboard get handled by a search prompt? And then you clean it up and you work it, whatever. And how much of my job needs to be replaced for them to start asking, well, why are we paying her so much when on paper this machine is actually doing a lot of these things that she usually did because we asked? How much of that becomes, okay, well, maybe we don't give her as much financial incentive next year. Maybe she doesn't get the same bonuses or the same raises. Maybe she doesn't get to work on as many projects. Then that language turns into, do we even need this many illustrators? Why don't we just cut down how many illustrators we have? And so it's not that the jobs are being immediately threatened. It is a slow and ignorant process, of erasing the need to have human touch and human perspective. And the only reason this is so fresh in my mind is, I mentioned I work in games. I work in the gambling industry specifically. And so the people above me are in Las Vegas sitting really comfy, and they are golfing. They're chatting about sports, and
Must be nice.
and I am a small queer artist with a wife that's been unemployed for the past 2 years. I'm making the only money of my household. I have a mortgage, I have a car, I have cats, and I'm just trying to make sure that I can figure out how to feed myself because I don't want to cook. And my separation from these people in an industry that's really vicious, and I'm just here because it's the first thing that's paid me well in my whole entire art career, which is very sad. My existence to these people isn't anything. And it's not that it's intentional. They're not intending to do that. But this technology is so enticing. It's so it's the apple in the Garden of Eden for someone who's looking at money and not people. And that's where it starts eating away at jobs slowly, methodically, and then it becomes, all right, well, we have that one senior. That senior's doing a great job. Jim, love Jim. Jim's our senior game dev, and he's just doing such a great job that we just need him. We don't need anybody else. We have somebody that can push a prompt and they can clean it up, and he'll guide us. Jim will guide us. And
until
like
he
Lauren,
retires.
Yeah, until he has to retire, and
Yep.
he didn't have anyone underneath him, another person to train to replace him. So, like you said, it's gonna a lot of companies that really bit that apple are going to choke on it, and it's we're gonna be here sitting making art of D&D and art for our friends and being a silly digital character online while they're absolutely gagging on the apple that they ate.
Yeah,
And that's
Sorry.
That's it. No, that's it. That's it. I got real passionate about it.
No,
Sure.
I mean, I think
you
all
got
of us
passionate,
do.
and I wanted to jump in there because everything you described about what happens in the workplace is exactly what completely ruined my dream job. I was working at TikTok. I worked there for 4 years, and the first 2.5, almost 3 years were fantastic because you're making illustrations, you're making animations, you're making sticker packs. I was a lead character designer on TikTok avatars. I was one of the lead designers on making like mobile games for TikTok, like a mobile game studio. Like it was a huge thing. There was an explosion of creativity in this massive, I think our team at largest was like 47, between 42 to 47 people, with senior artists training up junior artists, and it was a very positive, healthy, great place to work in the creative department, at least. I went from being a creative where I created things to hey, we need to take these 400 assets this month and convert them into this file type, upload them here, and then double check their thumbnails to make sure all the thumbnails are the same size and accurate. And once in a blue moon, I got to illustrate a sticker pack for something. And there was also the added stress of like, oh, Trump's looking to get rid of the platform. So there was also this kind of sword of Damocles hanging over our heads, wondering like, are we even going to have a job tomorrow? The straw that broke the camel's back was we came in one day, none of the managers were there, and a number of us got the dreaded pink slip email that, as effective immediately, you are no longer working. And it wasn't a huge amount of people, but when it happened, we all kind of had this like sudden drop of like, and we all kind of knew when AI started creeping into the creative process that this is where we would end up. We just didn't know when it would happen. And I chose to leave the company before it got to that point. It had a very real, tangible thing where a lot of people's livelihoods that I knew that I was very good friends with kind of got ruined, and many of them had been with the company for years before it was even TikTok. And they find themselves in a similar situation like me, where we're looking for work, and so much of the work is like, oh, here, we'll pay you to come in for 2 to 3 months, make a bunch of assets for us, and then we'll just take the assets you make and train AI off of it. Then you're
Nice.
tenure where we don't need you anymore. I cannot tell you the number of times I've had job interviews since I was laid off in the game industry this year, where that has been brought up in the interview process, where I'll ask, what's the scope of the job, the scope of the project, blah, 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 because they wouldn't be very forthcoming about it. And then it comes out, oh, well, this is a temporary position for a couple weeks or a couple months. We do this, we collect the data, and then it's a temporary position. So they'll pay you long enough to come in, do the work, and then out. So where there's some people who will say like, oh, AI is harmless and it's not really, it's not really hurting anything. And it's like, well, there's parts of it that absolutely are. And for me, I kind of look like, going back to the very beginning of our conversation, there's a definite Hank, I think it was you who mentioned something about like, oh, when we're all kids and we're kind of creative and there's a want to create and do things. To me, there's a big difference between saying someone is talented and saying someone is skilled.
For sure.
Everyone is talented and is talented at multiple things. Talent turns to skill when there's intention put behind it, when there's intention and drive and the want to do something. And for me, where AI image generation comes in is someone is talented and has a want for something. And because of the world that we have right now, instant gratification is the thing. They don't want to take the time, the effort, or even just a couple seconds to Google to see if there's a pit crew or something like that out there to assist them. So instead they'll just, oh, well, I'll just do this so I can skip the messy part of getting good at something and just get something that's good enough.
Yeah.
And then take credit for it. It's like, ooh, that, yeah.
I think if I can share something, what I'm picking up is, again, what we were talking at the very beginning about art and about how the importance of things that are hard to quantify. Something like how much sleep you get. Everybody knows that getting a good night's sleep is vital to your health, physical health, mental health, all that stuff. And like taking breaks throughout the day, especially for people who do creative or very think-heavy things. Those things are very important, but they're hard to quantify. You can't say, oh, 2 hours of sleep directly equates to 15% increased productivity on the floor, or if I get 7 hours of sleep, then that's going to be, I'll have XYZ amount of productivity, and I can look at the numbers and I can tangibly see how this thing is directly influencing this other thing. And it's hard to do that for things like a creative process, or how good a picture is, or how effective a piece of UX is. And I'm getting the impression that people think that because this AI stuff is so quick and it's so instant gratification, it feels like a quantification of those things, or at least a workaround. It's like, okay, well, I don't know that I can't tangibly or empirically say that the 3 hours that I spent on my walk at the park helped me feel more creative, and it inspired this idea. Like I saw a bird in a tree and it suddenly connected the dots for this storyline that I've been trying to tinker away with for years. Like inspiration strikes you, and then you figure out that story. But there's no way to quantify that or to turn that into a data set. But you can turn into a data set hey, I made this picture for this flyer or for this email, and I sent it out, and it took me, I saved, 3 hours of time instead of outsourcing it to a graphic designer and paying them $200 for 3 hours of time, quantifiable, numbered things. Now it's just, I typed it in, I got 20 minutes of rendering time, and now it looks just as serviceable as it would have done. So it's like, there's the numbers. So let's just go with that, because the immediate results are in my favor. And obviously we're seeing that someone said something about the apple is in their mouths now, so I think that they're going to figure out how flimsy a lot of this stuff is, or how ineffective it actually is, because people are losing jobs, and no one's going to give about watching a movie that was made by AI if they can't put food on the table. So
yeah, I think.
Well, you're not going to get.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you're not going to get a K-pop Demon Hunters out of AI.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're not going to get and that's the thing when I was saying earlier, the short-term game of what you're talking about is not going to outweigh the cataclysmic destruction to the industry. And I literally do mean cataclysmic. I'm not again, we're talking about like generational time here, where these companies are talking about, we saved $200 in those 3 hours. Great. Cool. If you eat McDonald's every day for your life, you're probably going to have high blood pressure. You're probably going to have all these other issues. Just because
we're not talking about me. We're talking about AI.
No. Yeah. No, but I mean like, I saved 30 minutes and I saved X amount by going to McDonald's and getting that every single day. And then you get into like, your like later years and they're like, hey man, right. Your body's wrecked, and you're like, oh no, if only someone had told me, like like that kind of thing, right? But like on like a corporate level, and like what you were saying earlier, like I personally don't fear AI. I know that people love my artwork. I know that as an independent artist who does rely on like shop sales and stuff like that, I know that people will come to me to buy my work or to support me or to get a commission by me. And I know that I am okay. However, I also know what jobs I got when I started and that those jobs are now gone. I know that the commission scene, like we're talking about, like with the question earlier at the beginning, yes, you could generate an image of the character from your D&D campaign, or you could pay a starting artist and show them the experience that I can make money, and probably totally undersold themselves and probably only sold that for $75. I'm looking at you, Lauren, from 2015. But like, but the thing is like you have those experiences when you're a young artist. And I remember the first commission I ever got, and I got that $75 after working for 40 hours. And I went, oh my God, I can make money doing this. And now, like, I'm getting emotional.
Yeah.
But like now I'm doing these things I never thought I'd do. And and it started with that underpaid $75 for that commission. And I would say to the person who wants to generate work for their campaign is that, yeah, you could do it, sure, but no one's gonna stop you. No one's gonna be there like Twitter police, like, I can't believe you did this. Downvote. I'm gonna quote retweet you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but like, you're not supporting the next artist who will eventually do something in the player handbook of the game that you're playing. Yeah. You're not supporting somebody who in 15 years' time will be the next person of that generation. You're not actively feeding the artists that are out there and who also give so much to this industry, who take jobs that don't pay well because they want to, because they're passionate about it. And you could be a part of that ecosystem of this community and support someone and give them, again, $75. It's not enough. Raise your rates, I beg you. But like, it's, you could be a part of that. And again, like I said, I do not fear AI. I fear AI in the hands of corporations.
Yeah.
I fear AI in the hands of people who do not see humans in their companies. I fear AI in the hands of people who will poison the environment around them to use data centers and burn through water and absolutely, like, I mean, again, like, please look into the environmental impact of AI.
It's huge.
Yeah, we haven't even talked
Please-
about any of
Yeah.
that.
No,
Like an entire other thing.
please look into the rising costs of electricity that is currently happening in New Jersey and in New York because of the deals that they're making to get data centers into the area. You may sit here and think, I am not a part of this conversation, and I'm going to speak to you directly. You are a part of this conversation. The cost of energy is going to rise as they continue to use this to, like, it's not a data, energy is not free. It is still a cost. It is a cost in other facets, right? The AI conversation is not just about theft. The AI conversation is not just about copyright. The AI conversation is not just about the loss of jobs or the fact that we are absolutely wrecking the generations that will come before us by closing doors entirely that will... I can't even look at an artist right now who is in college because I've spoken to them, and every single time I look at them, I go, every door that I took to get where I am, as mediocre as it is financially compared to like these billionaires or whatever, have closed.
Yeah.
They are closing, and I don't know what to tell you. It is, and that's what I'm saying, cataclysmic. And it's not, unless you're in the industry, I think people see the reaction of artists to AI and they're like, oh, they're Luddites. They don't even know what they're talking about. They're just complaining about nothing. Like, adapt or die. You know, like, believe me, the stuff I see. But like, it's not just, and not only is it about those things, but it's also about you as a human. You aren't even, you're stealing from yourself the ability to learn a new skill. You're stealing from yourself the ability to learn something new. You're stealing the ability from yourself to explore who you are in that moment when you can't draw a nose in perspective, when you are about to break your pencil because you're so frustrated. You're stealing that from yourself, and you're not allowing yourself the space to grow if you're only using generative AI to go make a thing for the dwarf that's in the tavern for you. Go draw a little picture. We've all drawn little pictures.
Cartoons.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna call cartoons. Hold on, don't put words in my mouth. But I mean, like, legitimately, like, go draw a little funny thing and be like, yeah, this is Bebop the dwarf, and he's my guy at the tavern. You know what I mean? Like, go draw that.
I guarantee your
his
party...
rock studies next to him.
Yeah. But anyway,
the party is going to remember the dwarf doodle a lot more than they're going to remember the same computer generated. Yeah.
And then my last thing is that I know that people, you can get into the weeds about copyright, and I know that's, listen, I have a lizard brain. I love writing copyright contracts. It's my favorite thing to do. It's weird. But like,
power to you.
Thank you. But like, I think that what was the, I lost it. Oh no. It was about copyright. And it was about theft. Oh, that, yes. art does have some quote unquote theft. Yes, you do get inspired by people.
Mid-Journey,
Oh, yeah.
Disney lawsuit happening.
Oh, beautiful. I can't wait. Let them fight. But one thing with the theft concept is that, yes, you do get inspired by other people's things. And yeah, like you do kind of see a thing and you're like, wow, that's cool. The difference between that and plagiarism and theft is that you take a hand that you see and you're like, that's a cool hand. But then what you do as an artist is you process it through your own self, your own experience, and then you make something that is inspired by, but different. And AI does not do that. It does not transform what it's doing. It's not adding to the process. It is simply regurgitating data set that it has learned and is doing it on a scale that is inhuman. And one person like looking at a hand and being inspired by it is not the same as in a machine taking every hand ever drawn and then making a hand. There's a very, very different thing there. But anyway,
and still it manages to get the number of fingers wrong.
Yeah, well, you know what? Listen, me too. Okay. No,
honestly,
listen.
To bring it into D&D specifically, the whole point of Dungeons and Dragons or any TTRPG is the collaboration amongst strangers at a table. And you're going to have so many moments of organic interaction and growth. Like, you know, somebody's slip of the tongue is going to be a story beat. Somebody sneezing in the middle of a moment of tension is going to be something funny that we talk about later. That garbage picture of a little guy, a little scrungly fella at a tavern because you had a sticky note and an idea on your lunch break. They're going to remember that silly guy because it was so full of personality. It was something that people immediately resonated with because it was a crummy little guy that everybody's like, oh yeah, I've drawn me another silly little guy like that before. Yeah. And so the whole point of us being around this panel at all is, what did D&D do for you in your artistic journey? How are you using your art to return into that creative space, whether it's D&D or something else? And how has that enriched your life? And I can guarantee that not a single person is going to look at AI slop and be like, this really enriched my life. Something about this really felt so special to me. No one's going to get grandma's scrapbook full of AI generated, apple pies. Yeah. No one's going to get Meemaw's book of AI generated Pinterest board pictures, and they're going to be like, man, Meemaw sure did know how to generate a code. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now come around, children. Look at my pictures from the generative era of 2025.
There's nothing special about it. And I think that's why a lot of artists are so disheartened by it, because we bring something special to the table. We even, there are multiple illustrators over here, there's graphic designers, there are authors here in this space, even just amongst us, the six of us. And we could have had the same education in the same place, in the same course, in the same time, and we would have all done something different with it. And so when we sit around the same table and you have people that work blue collar jobs, like my DM and another one of my players, the another player, he's in his 50s and he's been playing since the very first edition with his dad and his friends around the table. We have him and my DM, and both of them work blue collar jobs. And they are bringing with them their experiences on the floor of a warehouse. And I don't have that. I have other friends that work in marketing or they work in retail, and they bring that part to the table too. It manifests in something they say to a shopkeep, because they say, oh, this person came into my job when we were closing and it was so annoying. And I'm going to put this experience into us going into this tavern as it's about to close. You're getting moments of life and reality in a fictional play space. And our art is just us bringing that imagination space into a perceivable, whether it's audible, whether it's, visual, whether it's written. We as artists and writers and musicians are just taking that really fun bit of reality in the fantasy world and making something to show people those moments that are special to us. And so if someone's just coming at it like, oh, I have a D&D character, I can't draw, I'm going to generate a picture of this guy, they're not going to get anything from that image. What they are going to get is when one of their party members draws their character for the first time, and it's going to feel so much more special. It's going to feel so much more real and tangible. And that will immediately invalidate the slop they started with. And it's, it was mentioned that like, we don't know our character till we draw them or we interpret them somehow. It's the same thing. Like, your character never actually really existed until someone drew it for you properly, or wrote out a song for them, or a short story, or a role play, or a blog, whatever it is that makes you happy. Like, AI can never be special to you. AI can never give you warmth and joy because it didn't come from a place of love. It came from a place of commerce and consumerism and like just
instant gratification.
Yeah, and ignorance. It's coming from a place of ignorance and bigotry and just commodity. And so when when I do my art critiques and I have people from the spans of the internet coming to a digital mall to see a mannequin girl talk about their art in front of them for a half hour, I tell artists that, that see the state of the world, and I'm like, guys, your art is special and valuable simply because you made it. It doesn't have to be worth money. You don't have to sell it. It is simply important because it's yours. And no matter what level of skill you have, no matter how long you've been drawing, it could be you started yesterday, or maybe you've been doing it for 20 years, 100 years. It's special because you made it. And that won't ever change. That's not something that AI can take from you. And that's something that can never be taken away from D&D and collaborative roleplay games. Like, that there's no one else can come in and steal that from you because you're making that moment with the group that you're with.
Well said.
Oh, I feel like you guys have absolutely nailed it on the head, like covered such a span of topics.
I'm a yapper.
I don't want to take up too much more time. I guess real quick, I've got two things that I can contribute to the conversation. One being, as a graphic designer, I have seen a bit of, not necessarily the other side, but like another facet of what's going on, because in my line of work, my line of work is also being affected by AI, even being pushed upon by like the very software that we use day to day. And I'm very fortunate to work for an organization that actually takes a stance against using generative AI for design and art. But in our work, like, we're using stock imagery, or we have to commission something, or we use a lot of artwork, and it's becoming, oh gosh, like, you should see whenever we get on an AI diatribe in our Slack conversations, we're just like, oh gosh, it's like literally wading through the slop, like, it's becoming a skill to discern AI, not AI. And we have like jokes about how, gosh, we should start adding to our marketing that this was created by a real, organic, living human being. And that is that's an up thing,
Organic, free-range humans.
Yes. Non-GMO humans.
Non-GMO.
And so, yeah, it's a hot mess out there. And at the same time, from everything I learned, again, going back to like, okay, college foundations, like I am concerned for the next generation of graphic designers, illustrators, whatever, about just the loss of skill and loss of this tradition of learning your craft from, like, I don't care, like, we're all going to become prompt generators. That's all you're not a designer, not an artist, like, you're a prompt generator. And you won't learn, for myself, you won't learn about typography. You won't learn about, why is white space important? Why, how to compose a layout, why, all of that stuff. So it's, I have deep concerns in some areas, and other areas I'm like, I think eventually we'll be okay. We'll make it through this. So like creative industries in general, it's not going to look the same as before, but there's going to be a lot of collateral damage, and we don't exactly know to what extent, what kind, and it's hard to say right now exactly what it's going to look like. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and hopefully has if I can land the plane, a more hopeful ending. So I have a very bright, super creative 5.5-year-old boy who loves to draw. We love, both my husband and I are very creative people. We've been drawing our whole lives. He's got that gene in him or whatever. But I've also started sprinkling in a little D&D into his life through like bedtime stories, or like just coming up with stories together and introducing this idea of collaborative storytelling, and some of the mechanics are in there. But as parents, we also are like, oh my goodness, what is education going to be like in his lifetime? How, among all the other things you have to do as a parent to just keep this little person alive and turn them into a good functional citizen and human being, like we're now going to have to foster and encourage just the concept of taste and discernment of what is an essential real versus not real, human versus computer generated. That's going to become a skill that I don't know if they're going to teach it in schools, but learning how to figure this out. And as parents, it's like I'm both worried and hopeful that I hope that we will be able to, now that we're aware of it, this is important to us, granted we're creative, so it affects our lives directly, affects a lot of our friends. It's a challenge to be like, how can we instill wonder and magic and just all the beautiful things like art and games and collaborative storytelling have brought to our lives? How can we instill that in the next generation, who are going to, from the moment they were born, this has been their reality, that AI is here. I think it's probably here to stay in some capacity. So and I hope, trying to wrap this around in a more hopeful way, I hope that introducing something like D&D, collaborative storytelling, whatever your RPG game, hobby of choice is, that involves, connection with other human beings, empathy, broadening your mind, learning from other sources, learning from other people, like the emotional intelligence it takes to have a really wonderful experience at a table or online if you have, long distance friends. Like that, I hope introducing that early will help. I don't know, I can't really define it yet because in my kid's life, he's still growing, developing, but I hope introducing that sort of thing, the element of like, what does it mean to be human? And how do we put that out back into the world? How do we react to the world? And how do we keep that going? I do think things like games and art and narrative art is frankly the antidote, shield, whatever you want to call it, to things like AI and the attitude that some people take with it. I think in many generations throughout all of history, things like art and storytelling are universal, and they've somehow managed to last until now. And I hope and pray that it will continue to outlast any technology, that whether it was handprints on cave walls to, printing press and the internet and beyond. I hope and pray that, that will far outlast any technology that threatens us. It remains to be seen.
I'd sure like to think so.
Yeah.
And may our children live in precedent times.
Oh my goodness. Please, I want
Yes.
Yes. I'm so tired of unprecedented. I want
Yeah,
precedent.
it's getting to a point that the unprecedented is precedent at this point. So.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
I would love to not live through a historical event, please. Thank you.
Yeah,
On a
right.
daily basis.
Every
At least, like, give me a week. Give me a week
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. That's like, there's one funny quote. It's made the rounds where it was like, yeah, I want AI and computers to, can they do my laundry and wash my dishes and change my tires instead of making, like, I want to make art. So can those things take care of?
Yeah.
It seems like it's all backwards now, and it's, oh gosh, yeah. Between that and it's interesting times, guys. Interesting times.
Well,
Good luck, everybody.
Yes.
I think this has been a very fruitful conversation, and I feel like this could go longer, but I know our panelists, believe it or not, through the power of the internet, they span both coasts.
Oh, man.
Not just one, but both coasts of our country. And in fairness to those that are on the east, the west, the
East Side represent.
East Coast.
yeah. Go birds.
Some of us are just here in the middle and the south, I think that may be a good hopeful note, to end it on. So I certainly want to thank everyone for taking time out of their days, their evenings, their themselves and their schedules to come to the panel and have this cool time together. And hopefully we can keep these conversations going between all of us offline and on our social media spaces, which I think is a perfect segue, in thanking everyone, to have everyone go down the line, tell us where we can find your amazing 100% organic human-made art. We can go and patronage you and find you and commission you and support you and just give you all the love that you deserve in this world.
I guess I'll start since I was the last one to kind of chat. I'm kind of the newest to the scene. So yeah, you can find me. I have a growing presence, so please don't judge the lack of number of things right now. It will grow. Encourage me. Keep me accountable.
You got this.
I do.
You do.
Tell her every day. I'm like,
thank you. I need it. I need the reminder because goodness. So you can find, I recently kind of separated my personal, life stuff to trying to make a more dedicated art presence, especially for a lot of like the fantasy, nerdy, like just all the things I love that don't necessarily fit into some of the other work that I do. But if you want to see D&D stuff, fantasy stuff, cool characters and creatures, you can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, Kara, and Threads. I'm working on a website, working out the kinks of that, but Sombrisa Art, that's SOMBRISAART. And come check me out, come say hi, and keep making art.
Hell yeah.
For me, for Britt, you can find me on pretty much every social media under the handle BrittaJJ26. So BRITTAJJ26. That's also my website, is just BrittaJJ26.com. That's my portfolio. And across all of those social medias, I also have a link tree that's always linked on them. So in case you forget where you can find me, it's all there. I also just in the past 2 months opened an Etsy store, so I'm looking to sell some prints there. And I do, as of recording this in late September, I do have commissions open. It's a relatively new thing for me, but I've been enjoying it for the past couple months and I want to keep doing it. So there is a page that I have with information about commissions, and yeah, that's where you can find me.
Hell yeah. I guess I'll go. You can find my full portfolio website at mccartoons.com, MC Cartoons. But I have been on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, posting every single day under DnDoodles, so DnD.oodles. I've been doing a series I'm calling Roll for Dude, where I have all these different lists of different races, classes, armor, weapon, and I just make a random character every single day. It's kept me busy and gives me a sense of regularity and professionalism while being self-employed and horribly disorganized. Commissions are also open as of time of recording and will hopefully still be open by time of release. I'm working on prints and other merch and stuff, but for now I'm just doing the daily drawings and character commissions.
You can for my stuff, you can pretty much find me anywhere in socials at Lauren Walsh Art. I also have all of my socials, including like links to like a Discord channel that I have on my website at laurenwalshart.com/links. And as of the launch of this, I probably will have some new merch coming out. Ooh. So there might be some stuff there. And I will also be at MagFest in January. Ooh. So if you're going to MagFest, come on over and say. And I'll be tabling
Alexandria?
There, so. Yeah.
I haven't been since like maybe 2013 or 2014. It's been a while.
Yeah, I think it's well. This is my first time. I'm kind of excited.
Oh, nice.
I'm scared about it being a 24-hour show. Like, we'll see how it goes. I'll need to hire some help to help me out, I think.
Well, hell yeah.
For me, you can find me as Mall Dummy on most things, MALLDUMMY, or Mandi Quin, Mall Mannequin. I stream on Twitch multiple times a week, most of which is art. It's very silly. So if you like my chat making fart sound effects, much to my chagrin, and you're interested in hearing me talk about my process while I draw, almost everything I do in my personal life, I do it online with you guys. I have a Blue Sky, I have a Ko-fi or a coffee with a full gallery, and I also offer commissions sporadically on a website called VGen. And yeah, I like to use art in a very highly art-relied space, such as VTubing, and I like to educate people on how they can make their own human-made art. So yeah, it's a good time, and I have been so incredibly enriched by getting to talk to you all today. So I really appreciate you all having me.
Hell yeah.
Same.
Yeah. It's been very been very not stimulating.
I feel very stimulated.
Yeah. Fulfilling. It's been fulfilling,
validating.
Yeah, validating.
Yeah, validating. There we go.
Titillating.
Yeah, I was gonna say which is worse, titillating or stimulating. I'll let you be the judge.
They're both equally perfect.
All right, everyone. Well, again, thank you so much for participating in the fourth Parleys at the Platter, and we talked art and creativity in D&D, and yeah, I can't wait to see what sort of discussions are had now in the community from this. And again, thank you so much. Have a great one, and if you're listening to this on the regular RSS feed, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope is built on rebellions, and we're going to carry forward with holiday cheer and good tidings to all men of goodwill and all that jazz. So positivity, not toxically, but just genuine positivity, because we believe in humans. So take care and see everyone later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, everyone get your bye.
Goodbye. Have a beautiful time.
It's too late.
Goodbye.
What are you doing here? The movie's over. Get out of here. Come home.
I'm here for the Spider-Man post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't have that one.
bar to rock on. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.